Hey everyone, it's Alex, and welcome to the Marvel Snap Decks of the Week, the weekly series where I show you guys top 5 meta decks to help you gain rank in Marvel Snap. In this guide, I'll be taking you through 5 decks, 4 of which will be in Pool 3, and 1 of which will be a value deck from Pool 2, all of which have been thoroughly tested to ensure that they are top-notch. Also, if you'd like to support the series, please press the like button. It's all the YouTube cares about. Anyways, deck number 1 is a resurging deck called the KaZoo Aggro deck. Now, what's interesting about this deck is you're probably thinking, Alex, this ain't Pool 1. Why are you showing me a KaZoo deck? Well, because this is actually starting to make waves in the meta again, namely around one card, and that's Mojo. So if you've unlocked Mojo, you have the key component to make this deck work. Mojo is a card that has an ongoing ability that makes 4 cards, when both players have 4 cards at the location, becomes a 2/8, which is insane. And the other Pool 3 card that really activates this is Dr. Octopus, because you can force your opponent to more or less have 4 cards into that location with a 5/10 play on turn 5. So there's a lot of synergy between Mojo and Dr. Octopus, which I absolutely love. Moreover, if you don't pull Dr. Octopus, you also have the synergy with Blue Marvel, but you have the Chavez as your consistent turn 6 play to ensure that you have a solid choice on turn 5. You either Dr. Octopus into Mojo, or you can do the Captain Marvel to benefit everyone else as well. Another substitution you could put here is Onslaught, as is more traditional in the KaZoo style lists. You do need to run an armor, usually to defend the Ant-Man lane from someone like Killmonger, which will destroy everything in this game. And of course, you are running the value Angela. You are using your Cosmo in a unique way. You actually put Cosmo on turn 3 and you follow up Cosmo with Kazar and Blue Marvel in the same lane. This protects Blue Marvel and Kazar from Enchantress. Regardless, this is a really neat deck that I think is starting to make new waves in the Pool 3 meta. And our second deck of the week features one of my favorite cards in Marvel Snap, and that's Hela. Hela is a card that when you play on turn 6 on reveal, basically it plays all the cards that you discarded during that game into random locations. A really powerful effect. And what you want to do is you want to have a little mix of discard and a little mix of value, because the major cheat with Hela is that you can discard cards like the Infinite and then play it back in for free after you play Hela, right? But there's a bit of challenge to this list as well, because you have to be able to kind of save your hand. And really, the only one you don't want to discard is Hela, to be honest with you. If you discard Hela, then you're kind of in trouble, unless, of course, you play your Ghost Rider to bring Hela back, and that is kind of your saving grace. But you're kind of gambling if you play Ghost Rider on 6 and you've discarded other cards, which you're going to have. The actual way this deck is played, truly, is with Invisible Woman. Now, if you don't have Invisible Woman, the deck still plays, but it's not as consistent. Basically, what you do is you play Invisible Woman on turn 2. On turn 3, you play someone like Swordmaster. And then on turn 4, you play someone like Hellcow. And then on turn 5, whatever, you leave it. You leave that extra space, that extra 4 slot onto Invisible Woman, because that is where you play Hela, because Hela you want to activate last. So basically what ends up happening is you have Invisible Woman with Swordmaster, Hellcow, and Hela. That's going to reveal at the end of the game. That's what Invisible Woman does. And then what you have is you have the other cards. You have Lady Sif, who's fantastic because it discards the highest cost card from your hand. So it's a reliable discard. And it's likely to discard Death because it's a 9 cost card. The thing about Morbius is that Morbius gives you an opportunity to play a card when, like, maybe you don't have enough, like, synergy. And, like, first of all, pretty much everyone watching this video is going to have Morbius, and Morbius gives you an opportunity to play something on 2 that doesn't rely on a discard in the event that you don't want to, like, discard your Hela, for instance. And then what you do is at the end of the game, Invisible Woman then procs your Swordmaster, who discards something from your hand, procs your Hellcow, who discards 2 cards from your hand. And then what happens is the last card to reveal is your Hela, which brings them all back into random locations on the board. So that is how the combination works. Generally, you want some big cards like Hulk, Infinite, and Death. If you don't have those cards, you can, sub them in. You're going to have to sub a lot for a lot of these decks, especially if you're still building your collection. But regardless, the Pool 3 Hela deck is one of the strongest decks in the game. It is a ton of fun to play, and especially when you have the Invisible Woman, who gives you a lot of control over the way your cards are revealed. As a content creator, one of the most common requests I currently get is, Alex, I need a deck with Aggro. People love Aggro, they're unlocking Aggro, and Aggro actually recently got buffed before the release of the game. Aggro was actually a little weaker and got buffed with a whole bunch of 5 cost cards. So Aggro is now pretty damn good, and I think a lot of people recognize that. Now, there's a couple major synergies with Aggro and Magneto, for instance, you need to understand, and how this disruptive movement deck actually works. The first is with Kingpin. Kingpin, when a card moves there on turn 6, gets destroyed. Very good to know, because it'll destroy your cards, first of all. It obviously destroys their cards as well. Now, obviously you can use Kingpin in conjunction with both Aggro and Magneto, but for different reasons. Magneto will pull 3 and 4 cost cards that are existing on the board into the location to be destroyed. A very valuable play. And then Aggro, conversely, will pull any card that they're playing on that turn, whether it be turn 5 or 6, into, actually should be just 6, I should correct myself, it has to be turn 6 with Kingpin, basically pulls a card on turn 6 into that location that's being played to be destroyed immediately. So Arrow's going to destroy cards that are being played. Magneto destroys cards that have been played. So they're very different and can both be used on turn 6. You have the Miles Morales, which is excellent value in this deck, considering that one of the key plays you're playing on 3 is Polaris. Polaris is great and actually provides you with a lot of synergy with Kraven. You can play Kraven on turn 2 and then Polaris on top of the Kraven and pull a card that was played on turn 1 or 2 into that location to make Kraven a 2/4, which is high value. Moreover, you have Lizard. Lizard's a great card in this deck as well because it's 2/5, very high value play, and it's also hard for the opponent to zoo into Lizard because of all the movement manipulation you have with Magneto and Arrow and Polaris, so their ability to kind of commit cards to Lizard becomes a little compromised. You usually get the 2/5 in pure value. You have the Disruption of Scorpion, which allows you to trade more effectively, the Disruption of Iceman, which is truly fantastic, and Nightcrawler is just a damn good card that works well for both Morales and for Kraven in this specific list. Moreover, you also have a very consistent turn 6 play with Chavez, but the Chavez realistically allows you to draw more consistently throughout the game because you do on turn 3 want to set up either the Kingpin or the Polaris into Kraven combination. Moreover, this deck is very disruptive. It takes some practice to utilize well, and the major thing you need to know is that on turn 6 you need to decide, do you do Chavez, pure value? Do you play Magneto, more value, but also disrupting the board by moving the existing 3 and 4 cost cards? Or do you play Arrow into the Kingpin location to prevent any card that they've currently revealed from being actually played properly and getting destroyed instead? And the next deck that we've got to talk about is the Patriot Zoo list for Pool 3. Now, basically, Patriot is one of the most interesting cards in the game, where any cards that have no abilities in your deck and on the board get +2 power. That's incredible. The problem with this deck list is that even if you pull Patriot or Elite, I know you want to play him. The problem with this is that really Patriot in this list does not really come alive without Mystique, because Mystique can copy the Patriot effect, giving it a +4 across the board, which is absolutely amazing. Not to mention Debris, while not absolutely required, is an amazing card for this list, because the rocks have no abilities and get benefited from the buff from Patriot and Mystique, while also disrupting your opponent's side of the board, unless they're playing Carnage, of course, but that's a whole other conversation. This deck list does have a bunch of cards that do make good value of the Mystique Patriot combo, including Squirrel Girl's Squirrels, not Squirrel Girl themselves, Wasp. Now, I include Ant-Man. I like Ant-Man in this list because you tend to zoo so much, and the 1/5 is good enough. Sorry, the 1/4 is good enough. Nice math, Alex. But then you get the KaZoo and Blue Marvel regardless, which really benefit Ant-Man and pretty much everyone on this list. Shocker is a great card, one of the best play animations in the game, by the way. It's so cool. I love it. I just like playing Shocker. It's just fun. And then you have Mr. Sinister, who itself does not get the benefit of Patriot, but the clone does. But Mr. Sinister will get the benefit from Blue Marvel and KaZoo. And finally, you have the Onslaught, which can be played on KaZoo and Blue Marvel, or preferably you play Onslaught onto the Mystique and the Patriot to really amplify your ability in this deck list. Now, this list is a little expensive, but if you do have Patriot and Mystique, you've got basically the foundation for what you need. Debris is nice, but not absolutely required. You do have filling cards like the Thing and Cyclops that you can use if you so desire, but this is one of those deck lists that really works well to catch opponents by surprise in the Pool 3 meta. And for you elite gamers still stuck in Pool 2, we've got ourselves the ongoing Burst list. This is a list that I've been working on for a while. I always play Pool 2 cards on stream where I'm like, hey, I'm going to test Pool 2 against Pool 3, and I play these decks, and I have a ton of fun with them, and I win so many games. And I think that this is probably one of the best decks in Pool 2 right now. Basically, you have your Ebony Maw. It's such a damn good card. You don't play it on turn 1. I mean, you could play it on turn 1 if you really wanted to, but generally I like to hold it, play it on turn 3 in conjunction with Armor to protect it with Ant-Man. And then what you can do is you can actually get the Nightcrawler and scoot into that lane to get the Ant-Man the +1 buff. Not +1, it's a +3 buff, Alex. What am I, new? Anyways, and then you have the Colossus Lizard, which is just really good, valuable cards. Mr. Fantastic gives you additional reach into that Ebony Maw lane if required. Also gets you reach into like Death's Domain and other locations that may be problematic. Captain America, an excellent card overall in this list. You can also play Punisher if you're seeing a lot of Zoo decks. It's up to you. Shang-Chi, absolutely required for all the Devil Dinosaur you're going to be seeing in Pool 2. Enchantress, also a decent choice. However, with Enchantress, you're going to troll yourself because Enchantress basically counters your entire list. So if you're trying to counter Devil Dinosaur, you kind of got to use Shang-Chi with this list. don't use Enchantress. Even though I said Enchantress, I should not have said Enchantress. Anyways, you have KaZoo, obviously the +1 across the board for the ones, also buffs that Ebony Maw. So again, if you want to play Ebony Maw by himself, he actually gets a bunch of benefit, which is kind of surprising. Your blue Marvel, and finally your closer, which is the Spectrum. If you don't have Spectrum on turn 6, you probably got to retreat. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Press the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I got another video down below. Definitely check it out if you're interested in seeing more deck lists that are very competitive in Marvel Snap. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in that next Marvel Snap video.